Okay, class, welcome back. This is our last lecture for the week. And this is actually something that I didn't do, keep between us, I didn't do with the other section. I completely forgot that I told the other section I was going to do this today. So for the other section, I'm going to have to do this on Monday's class, unfortunately. But I remembered for you guys. That's the lucky part about being my second of the same class. This will actually be a good little review for significant figures, and then we can get into two rules. All I want to do today is to show you the rules for adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing. Before I get to that, and maybe some of you guys can write this in the chat. You don't have to if you don't want to, but how long is this pencil using this top ruler? Okay, top ruler only. We'll do the bottom ruler in a minute. So tell me how long I want proper significant figures that this top ruler is. 4.4, 4.5, 4.6. I'm very happy seeing a lot of the correct significant figures in the chat, and I'm getting a lot of 4.5s. I actually probably shouldn't have done my line like this. Oops, sorry. Let me minimize the chat. Here, I should have done my line like, it's really hard to draw the line on the computer. There we go. So I'm reading the chat. I'm getting a lot of 4.4, 4.5, 4.6. I'm getting mostly 4.5, and I'm happy with that. So if you see my line up here, I know that my pencil has to be 4 centimeters long for sure. I mean, there is no doubt, 100% confident that that pencil is 4 centimeters long. Because there's nothing else here, all I can do is estimate one more decimal place. So personally, I would be happy with people saying 4.5 or 4.6 centimeters. If you said 4.4 and this was a test, I probably wouldn't take off a mark, but it looks to be over halfway to me. Like, you know, again, the word is subjective. There's going to be some variance, but this, guys, has 2 significant figures. All right, now let's get another color and let's look at the other ruler. And in the chat, boy, I'm going to try to be really careful here. This is very hard. In the chat, I would like you guys to tell me how long is the second ruler with proper significant figures. Second ruler pencil. I'm getting results here. Yeah, I'm getting really good results. Everybody is saying 4.55. And I totally agree. Yeah, 4.55. You know, some of you guys might be a little creative. You might say, oh, it's 4.54 or it's 4.56. Totally acceptable. Totally 100% acceptable. I know not everybody has responded, but I have about maybe 10 or 15 responses, and I agree, 4.55 centimeters. And guys, this, because we used a ruler with better precision, oops, oh no, sorry. Because we used a ruler with better precision, we have 3 significant figures. So, you know, when we do this in the lab, Mohammed said 4.56, that's awesome, I agree, it could be 4.56. When we do this in the lab, we have, for example, I'm going to say some words that might not mean anything to you right now, but we have a top loading balance, which is like a scale that you might use in your kitchen. When I say scale, I mean, you know, for weighing things. And we have an analytical balance. So the top loading balance in the lab, they are good to 2 decimal places. And the analytical balance in the lab is good to 4 decimal places. So you could get, you know, 5 or 6 significant figures there, depending on the number. So yeah, that's really good. I'm still getting some responses. I'm happy with that. Okay, so for anybody who missed last class, we did the next two slides already. So I have done this slide and this slide. So I'm going to move on to slide 29. And if you guys give me maybe 15 more minutes of your time, we're done. And I'm going to end the class today with a little practice problem for you guys to practice along with me. And after today's class, you can do that assignment. The online quiz, sorry, I say assignment, I mean online quiz. You are completely equipped to do that quiz after this class. So 15 minutes, here we go, maybe less. Last class, I told you how to measure significant figures, or sorry, I should say how to count significant figures. So we know that zeros can be an issue. Leading zeros are never significant. Trailing zeros are significant when there's a decimal place. If the zeros are in between two numbers, like this guy here, I'm writing in green, that is definitely significant. Now, that's not all we need to know about significant figures. We need to know how to calculate with them. And what I mean by that is calculating by adding and subtracting, which have the same rule, and multiplying and dividing, which have the same rule. So I'm going to go with adding and subtracting first. We'll do multiplying and dividing, and then practice, and halas, we're done. Quick note, I had a question in the chat, when is the deadline for the quiz? The quiz deadline is Monday at midnight. Okay, Monday at midnight, 11:59 p.m. to be exact. All right, here we go, back to the rules. So there are two rules you need to memorize here for significant figures. Adding and subtracting is the first. When you add and subtract two numbers, you always round, to the least significant decimal place. And what I mean there is the lowest number of decimals. Okay, the lowest number. This is my favorite rule because it's so easy. Even if you can't remember significant figures, all you need to know for this rule is how to count, literally. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 4 decimal places. I don't care if it's a 0, if it's a 1, if it's a 2, just the number of numbers after the decimal place. So I have 4. Over here, I have 2. Sorry about that. Oh man, this pencil or pen. Okay, so I know that my answer is only confident, is only accurate to 2 decimal places. And guys, a good way to think about this is your answer is only as good as your worst number in the calculations. They say, a saying would be, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. You know, so if you pulled on a chain, it would break where the link, the chain link, the little circles that join chains together, is the weakest. That's where it's going to break. Well, your answer is only as strong as your weakest calculation, or your weakest number, or I guess I should say weakest measurement. So here's the tricky part. I take this number and I cut it off to 2 decimal places, but I want you to be careful when you round. Don't forget what you learned in math when you guys were younger, rounding numbers. If the number is 5, 6, 7, or 8, or 9, you round up. If the number is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you round down. So because this number is a 4, I keep my answer the same. That's called rounding down. A good way to think about it is if you had 84 reals in your pocket, technically that's closer to 80 reals than it is to 90 reals. So I keep this as an 8. So there we go. There's my answer. Now, in the second example, let me pick a different color here. Whoa, I did not mean to do that. Pick a different color. Let's go back to red. Here I have 2 decimal places. Here I have 1 decimal place. So my answer can only have 1. But because this is a 6, I'm going to round my number up. And again, think about money. 56 reals is closer to 60 than it is to 50. So I would round my answer up. And I can only have 1 decimal place in my answer. 2 decimal places up here in my second answer. Okay, now, for anybody confused or thinking that you want to practice this, I'm going to move into the next rule, and then I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes. I'll turn my microphone off and get you guys to practice some of these. So just give me maybe 3 or 4 more minutes of talking, and then I'll stop talking and let you guys do some work. Okay, multiplying and dividing, okay? This is the rule that's a little bit more challenging because you guys need to know how to count significant figures. The decimal places do not matter. All right, so the rule is when you multiply or divide 2 numbers, you round them to the number that has the lowest number of significant figures. And again, the same rule kind of applies. Your answer is only as good as your weakest measurement. In this case, it's significant figures, not decimal places. So let me quickly go over this, and then we'll practice together. So this number in red has 3 decimal places. It does have 3 decimal places, but more importantly, it has 3 significant figures. This is a leading 0. And leading zeros never count. Now, this number has a lot of significant figures. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 significant figures. And the zeros definitely count here because the zeros are between 2 numbers. So I put this in on my calculator. My calculator is going to give me this answer. But this answer is no good. It has too many significant figures. So I'm going to cut this answer off at 3 digits, 3 numbers, because I can only have 3. And you'll notice I'm going to round that number up because this is a 6, so I'll round it up to 751, 3 significant figures. Guys, notice if you rounded that down, it would be 750. You need to put the 0 in to keep 3 significant figures. So if this number here, the 6, was something like a 2 or a 1, and you had to round down, keep the 0, right? I want 1, 2, 3 numbers here. Okay, last one, and then you guys can take a break from listening to me and do some examples. This is division, obviously, and this is a special number I picked. 10.00 milliliters is a number that you'll see in the lab a lot. We have a chemical equipment or a piece of glassware that is called a pipette, a volumetric pipette, and it measures to 2 decimal places, specific volumes. So some of the pipettes we have are 5.00, 10.00, and I think we have a 25.00. I haven't been to the lab in a long time. So this has 4 significant figures. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, why 4? They're trailing zeros. Yes, they are trailing zeros, but there's a decimal place. Sorry about that, guys. My phone's going crazy here. I'm popular. It's all work emails, no fun. So this decimal means that these trailing zeros are good to go. The decimal shows that they are measured, counted numbers. My top number has, I think, what, 5 significant figures. Okay, so I'm going to keep 4. My calculator gives me this answer, and I'm going to round that down because this is a 4, so I keep it as 5. Like I keep this number as 5, I mean. So this is 4 significant figures, and we're done. One thing I'll say before I put you guys to work is if any of you are sitting here, it's been a really long week, it's 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon, and some of you are really not getting this, we will be doing significant figures this entire semester. Every time I do a calculation with you guys, and some of the chapters are the whole chapter is just calculating things, we will look at significant figures. Now, you guys do have a quiz that's due on Monday that's worth about 1% of your final grade. They're only worth around 1% each. So you might want to do, if you're really nervous about significant figures, you can chat with me. I'll be around Sunday and Monday. You can send me an email this weekend. But there's also a lot of very good significant figure resources on YouTube, like a lot. I'm pretty old, but I'm not that old. And I mean, between YouTube and Wikipedia, I think they got me through chemistry degree, like big time, watching people do videos. So there's a couple good links in my course outline. Khan Academy or Crash Course have really good tutorials for significant figures if you think you need a little bit more. Somebody in the chat just asked again how much the percent are the quizzes. I just told you it's 1%-ish roughly. If there's 9 quizzes, they might be worth a little more than 1%, but we're looking at around 9 or 10 quizzes. So, yep, just 1. All right, so guys, I am going to pause my recording. I'm going to put myself on mute, and I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to try this problem on slide 31. Even if you don't get the significant figures right, it will be worth your while to write the answers down here. So you can grab a pen and a piece of paper. If you don't have a calculator, you can use your cell phone, or if you have a laptop, you can use Google. I'm gonna mute myself and I'll be back in 2 minutes, okay? I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, everybody. I have a few people saying they're done. One person said almost done. So just take next 10 or 15 seconds to kind of finish up the last couple if you have them have it that far. Sorry. And let's go through the answers. Let's do one at a time. Instead of you guys listing like the answers to A, B, C, D, let's just do one at a time. And I'll start with A. So what did everybody get for A? You don't have to worry about units. Okay, don't worry about the grams. We'll talk about that later. So yeah, A. Got a couple of answers there for A, and I definitely see the right answer there. Yeah, I'm seeing lots of right answers, but I'm also seeing a lot of 40.445. I don't know where the 5 came from. So, it's no problem at all, everybody. Okay, so let's look at the actual answer here. So never trust your calculator. Your calculator, unless there's some new crazy calculator app that I don't know about, like on your phone, I mean, a standard scientific calculator will not do significant figures. So a Casio or a normal TI-83, TI-84, if there's nothing installed on it, it's just going to calculate the answer. Your natural calculator app on your Android or iPhone, the same thing. It's just going to give me this 44, sorry, 0.4415. Now I'm going to put the grams in there. You guys don't need to worry about the grams. This is obviously a good answer, but it's not the correct answer. Well, sorry, it's correct, but it doesn't have the correct sig figs. It doesn't have the correct significant figures. So if you can hold off on drawing there. Okay. Sorry. All right, sorry about that. So significant figures, how does this work? Well, this answer or number has 3 decimal places. This number has 4 decimal places. Notice, guys, in questions A and B, oh yeah, 40. Thank you, sir, in the chat, or ma'am, 40. Sorry, I wrote my number down wrong. You'll notice that A and B here have adding and subtracting. So adding and subtracting mean we're going to use decimal places. So my answer can only have 3 decimal places. And because this ends in a 5, it means I have to round up. So 40.442 grams. All right, I'll speed this up a little bit now because it's 10 after. So could people maybe share in the chat your answers for number or letter B? I'm getting them already. 125, 125. B is actually pretty easy. B is one of the ones where your calculator will give you the correct answer, which is possible. And when I say correct, I obviously mean significant figures. All right, I'm going to go ahead with that. Everybody's saying the same thing. In this morning's class, a few people said actually, I think only 2 people said 125.00, but you can't do that because this number has 0 decimal places. This has 2 decimal places. So we must round our answer to 0 decimal places. And it would be 125. A few people saying 185. You might want to check your calculator. 250 minus 125 should only be 125. For the, people are doing C. Sorry, I didn't know people were skipping ahead doing C. For the units, guys, the grams, the milliliters, the centimeters, we'll worry about units in chapter 3. All right, so people are going ahead and answering question C, and I'm getting a lot of 185s, which, yeah, that's correct. So if you guys do C on your calculator, you will get 184.8, okay, and technically that would be centimeters squared. Again, do not worry about units. The thing about this, though, is I can only have 3 significant figures. This 0 is a significant figure. It's a trailing 0 after a decimal. So we would take this number and we would round it up because of the 8, and you would get 184.8 turning into 185 centimeters squared. Perfect. Last one, guys, and I'll put a star by the last one because I do believe this last one is on your online quiz. I'm getting the perfect answer from a lot of people. I'm getting 3.49. I've got a 3.48 in there as well. You're very close to that. We would round it up. So my calculator, I'm going to do this one just down here a little bit. My calculator gives me a crazy number, 3, 4, 8, 5, 491, dot, 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 dot. Like it goes on forever. And the units here are grams per milliliter, which is your third lab. We're going to talk about density. That's what this is called. But anyways, we don't need to worry about units. I have 6 significant figures divided by 3 significant figures. So my answer can only be 3. And for anybody who answered this and said 3.48, just remember, when the number is 5 or bigger, we round up. So this would be 3.49 grams per milliliter. All right. Woo, we're done. We're finished for today. I will hit stop record now and leave it open if you guys have any questions. If you don't have any questions, have a great weekend. And this recording will be online probably in the next maybe 15, 20 minutes. All right, so have a good weekend.